Namaskar. My name is Karuna Venkatesh, and you are watching Constitution of India Decoded at Tarkvad. In our first video, we called the Constitution our nation's grand blueprint. But every great structure needs a foundation, a core philosophy, and that is exactly what we are exploring today. The single paragraph, the 65-word masterpiece, is more than just an introduction. It is the soul, the moral compass, and the identity card of the Indian Constitution. Welcome to a deep dive into the preamble. So, what exactly is a preamble? Think of it as the why behind the what. It's not just a pretty opening statement, it embodies the fundamental philosophy, the source of authority, and the ultimate objectives that the entire document is designed to achieve. In a landmark case, the Supreme Court itself called the preamble the key to the mind of the constitution makers. It sets the tone, and for India, this tone is one of the most radical and ambitious in history. But its legal power was a subject of a massive historical debate. Initially, in the Berubari Union case 1960, the court said the preamble is not a part of the constitution and cannot be enforced in a court of law. But this changed dramatically in 1973 in what is perhaps the most important case in Indian legal history, Keshwanand Bharati versus State of Kerala. The Supreme Court, in a historic judgment, declared that the preamble is indeed a part of the Constitution. It holds a place of immense importance. Most crucially, the court stated that the preamble contains the basic structure of the Constitution, which even Parliament cannot destroy through any amendment. Now, let's unpack its profound words, starting with the most powerful of all: we, the people of India. This is not a poetic flourish. This is a revolutionary declaration. In a time when power was seen to flow from the top, from a king or a parliament, our constitution boldly states that all power, all authority originates from us, the citizens. It is we who are giving ourselves this constitution. This establishes India, first and foremost, as a popular sovereignty. Now, let's analyze the four cardinal pillars that define the nature of our republic. First, sovereign. This means India is a completely independent nation, both internally and externally. It is not a subject of any foreign power. Our parliament has the supreme authority to make laws, limited only by the constitution. Next, socialist. This word was added only in 1976 by the 42nd Amendment, but its spirit was always there. Here, it doesn't mean state ownership of all property, as in communism. In the Indian context, it means a mixed economy focused on reducing inequality through social and economic justice. The goal is to eradicate poverty and ensure the wealth of the nation does not concentrate in a few hands. The third pillar is secular. This was also added by the 42nd Amendment. This is a fundamental feature of the basic structure. It means the state has no official religion. It treats all religions with equal respect and gives every individual the freedom to profess, practice, and propagate any faith of their choice. Fourth, we are a democratic republic. Democratic signifies that the government gets its authority from the will of the people, expressed through regular, free, and fair elections. But a democracy is not just political, it extends to social and economic democracy as well. And republic signifies that the head of our state, the president, is an elected representative, not a hereditary monarch. The office is open to every citizen. The preamble then lays down four sublime objectives for the state to secure for all its citizens. Justice is three-dimensional: social, economic, and political. It's not just about courts. It means the state must work to create a society free from exploitation and discrimination. Liberty is of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. But remember, this liberty is not absolute. It is liberty within the law, ensuring your freedom does not infringe on the rights of others. Equality is of status and opportunity. This is the bedrock of fundamental rights, ensuring no one is privileged by the state based on religion, race, caste, or place of birth. And finally, fraternity. This is the most beautiful and often overlooked objective. It's the feeling of brotherhood. of a common family. It assures the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In a diverse country like ours, fraternity is the glue that holds the other three objectives together. This brings us to a crucial point. Is the preamble static? The answer is no. It was amended once through the 42nd Amendment in 1976, which added the word socialist, secular, and changed unity of the nation to unity and integrity of the nation. This proves that while the soul is constant, its expression can evolve. So, the preamble is far more than just words. It is a sacred declaration. It is the source of the Constitution's authority, a guide for its interpretation, and a reflection of the dreams and aspirations of a newly born nation. It is, in every sense, the soul of India. In our next video, we will move from this grand philosophy to a very practical and crucial question. Who does this constitution actually apply to? We will decode the legal concept of citizenship. It's a topic more relevant today than ever. If this deep dive intrigued you, share your thoughts in the comments below. What part of the preamble resonates most with you? Like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more such detailed analysis. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay decoded. Namaskar.